So let's talk finger substitution. Now, this is a technique that becomes increasingly important when students begin to play more advanced pieces, such as Beethoven piano sonatas or Bach preludes and fugues that just have a lot of expressive lyrical legato passages, and you have to get creative with the fingering to maintain the continuity of those passages. But we can begin to plant little seeds along the way in those beginning stages to kind of pave the way for students to learn how to finger substitute, which is just a really important, helpful technique. I mean, we can't have our students always playing with these open hand positions, especially as those melodies expand and the composers are using more. Just making something up. This one's atonal, I guess. You know, if the composer is using more of the piano, then we've got to really get used to this legato finger substitution technique. So there's a great couple of exercises that you can begin to teach, plant seeds along the way for your students to learn this important technique. So let's take the C major scale. Okay, we all know what that looks like. C major. From C to shining C, as I like to say, and just simply have your students start with a thumb and then move to the two finger. So we're going to be substituting the thumb for the two finger. So see, we release that D with the index finger, the two finger, and just place down the thumb so this key is still pressed down. And we're going to do that all the way up the scale like so. So it starts with a thumb. Then we go with our two finger, substitute, two finger, substitute, all the way up the scale. And so they're getting used to creating that legato syrupy sound as they're substituting fingers, like so. And then substitute there at the end. And you could also remind them that the point of that is if you were to play that scale with the two finger, all the way up, there's going to be a gap between every single one of those notes because there's no way to hold the preceding note down as you're pressing the other. There's no way to make that legato. So the idea is to get used to this finger substitution to create that legato sound. Okay? So that's the simple exercise all the way up the scale. Now you can do that with different fingers as well. Maybe start with a three finger, then substitute one. 3 and 1. 3 and 1, 1, all the way up the scale. You could do that with a four finger, the five finger if you want. That one's a little tricky and maybe not as practical as the others, but it's a great exercise to begin planting seeds for finger substitution technique. Now you could also do this with skips, and maybe this one's even more practical because, as I mentioned before, you're typically only going to use this technique when a piece calls for it. Maybe it has more of a vast melody using multiple octaves, so therefore you're going to have to jump around to those keys in a smooth and connected way. So you could do this with skips. Maybe you start with your three finger here, substitute, skip with 3, substitute 1, 3, substitute 1, and just skip up like so. All of these notes, and then maybe do it going backwards. This time it's going to be the thumb substituted with the three finger. Thumb, substitute 3, all the way down to different skips like so. Okay? And then you can come up with variations of your own. Maybe you want to have them play like a triad, like so, maybe with the first, second, and third finger. With the idea that we're kind of doing an arpeggio type thing. This is not the way we would chord this if we were going, or finger this if we were going to block it like so, but we're thinking arpeggio here. Maybe they play thumb, 2, 3, substitute, and then play the rest of that arpeggio with the remaining fingers. Maybe 3, 5, 3, 5, substitute with that 3, 2, 1. So there's another exercise for you. So it looks like this. Substitute the inversion of that triad, substituting here again with a 3,